As our AFSP chapter leaders, you have an important opportunity to contribute to our Project 2025 mission by reaching healthcare professionals who provide care in your communities. I'm here with Dr. Tony Pisani of the University of Rochester and SafeSide Prevention. In this video, you'll get an overview of a partnership we've established to enable your AFSP chapter to bring evidence-informed suicide prevention training to primary care practices in your community.
Christine and I will explain why we're so excited about this opportunity. Then my co-instructor, Christina Mossgraber, and I will explain the steps your chapter can take to ensure that primary care in your community is safe, compassionate, and prepared.
The opportunity to save lives is clear. More than 1/3 of people who die by suicide had contact with primary care in the month before they died. But many primary care providers are often not equipped with current knowledge and training. That's why AFSP selected primary care as one of our priority settings for Project 2025.
In school, we get a little bit of training. We're trained to ask, are you thinking about harming yourself? Are you thinking about killing yourself? And to go through those safety questions. But that's kind of where the training ends, and everything else ends up being kind of on the job when you have that patient sitting in front of you. And it would be fantastic to have training before you're sitting with that patient in front of you, so that you know better how to respond.
I would honestly highly encourage everybody to go to training such as this, because you will encounter it at one point or another. You think you may not, but it's going to come up at some point in time in your practice.
SafeSide is also committed to primary care. The seeds of SafeSide primary care training were planted when I was an embedded psychologist in a pediatric primary care center. Over the years, we've seen the field make progress with awareness and screening for suicide ideation and depression in healthcare settings. And while screening and awareness are important and good start, we're now concerned about what might happen if hidden suicidal thoughts are uncovered in primary care if providers are not prepared to respond. Getting a lukewarm or uninformed response could discourage the person further and reduce the chances they'll get help.
The patients that are sharing with you how they're feeling, there's also this intense gratitude that they feel comfortable being that vulnerable with you. Because it is incredibly vulnerable to come in and talk to somebody that in some cases they're coming in for an acute visit and that they're sharing with a complete stranger that they're having these thoughts, and that's so incredibly vulnerable, and I feel such gratitude to be able to be somebody that they feel comfortable sharing that with.
That's a real privilege and a real honor to be able to sit in a room and let somebody be able to let you know things about them that they didn't have to tell me. They didn't have to explain that. They don't have to share. And when they do share, being appreciative of how hard that is and how difficult that process must be for them.
SafeSide provides a framework for primary care that is the product of years of clinical experience and research. This means that doctors, nurses, and other patient care staff can learn the most current practice steps to prevent suicide, and they can work together as a team, staying on the same page when it comes to saving lives, no matter their role.
Christine, we're so excited to be partnering with AFSP. AFSP is a leading voice for suicide prevention nationally and for persons with lived experience, those who've lost loved ones or themselves have struggled with suicide concerns. Better together, the idea that clinical experience and lived experience strengthens our work. This is one of SafeSide's core values. In a moment, you'll meet Christina Mossgraber, SafeSide's lived experience faculty member. She co-leads SafeSide primary care training with me, and she'll help us walk through the core features of the training and the steps you can take.
As our chapter leaders, you are continually breaking new ground in your communities. The SafeSide AFSP primary care training program is a next big step you can take to save lives in your community and participate in Project 2025. And that primary care in every community is a safe haven for our friends, neighbors, and family members.
I'm Christina Mossgraber. I am very excited about this partnership between SafeSide and AFSP as we join efforts for Project 2025. By the end of this video, you'll know a little more about SafeSide's training and learning approach, as well as what you and your chapter can do to sponsor a practice in your area. First, let's start with the framework. The SafeSide primary care training centers around a framework developed by Dr. Tony Pisani. The framework acts as a roadmap of evidence-informed best practices that help providers organize their thinking and actions when suicide concerns come up in their practice. The framework has 4 core tasks: connect, assess, respond, and extend. Each core task has a series of components that equip providers with the knowledge, skills, and confidence needed to better serve patients who disclose suicidal ideation. The framework is co-taught by Tony and myself. Tony brings in his expertise as a leading voice in the field of suicide prevention, and I bring my expertise as a mental health recovery advocate and my own experience of recovery. Our teaching is accompanied by engaging skills demonstration videos. They feature real providers working alongside actors playing the role of patients. These skills demonstration videos provide concrete examples and opportunities to apply the framework. We're going to break down this big idea of connection into 3 categories: ask, collaborate, and commit. Each of these has a couple core skills and practices behind them. As a person who receives care from the mental health system, I can tell you that just hearing these 3 words is encouraging and comforting.
Ask refers to asking every person directly about suicide and about their experience and suffering. There's been good progress toward organizations and individual care professionals using standardized tools and measures for assessing suicidal thoughts and behavior. That's important, but simply sticking to the words used in a validated measure isn't a guarantee you'll get an open and honest response. The goal of an assessment is to understand what the person is going through. And while asking valid questions on a scale is important, it's equally important not to get hyper-focused on the tool and miss the person's experience, especially the suffering behind the yes or no responses. In our framework, it's important that you ask and how you ask.
Dr. Holly Russell initiated a conversation and assessment about a patient's report of suicide ideation on a routine screen.
Hi, Mr. Mack.
Hey.
How are you?
Okay, Doc, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. So you know I always like to set an agenda for the visit. I have some things that I wanted to make sure we talked about today, but I also wanted to make sure I knew what brought you in to see us today.
Dr. Russell starts by saying she has something she'd like to talk about, so it won't be a surprise for Mike when she brings up suicide concerns later. She acknowledges Mike's reason for the visit, avoiding the temptation to hyper-focus on suicidal thoughts and ignore what might be causing them.
Let's start with strengths and protective factors. The most important strengths are those that are unique to the person. What's special about them? What makes them feel good about themselves? Do they have talents or hobbies? Or maybe their family says they have a wicked sense of humor and make everyone laugh. Do they have a strong family support system or connection to our religious community that might be protective? You may have encountered a person who can't tell you anything positive. That was me when I was thinking about suicide. I thought the world would be better off without me, and I didn't see anything good about myself. If you're working with someone like that, you could ask what positive things other people might say about them.
There's also a strategic reason to be on the lookout for unique strengths. An activity or person that's special to someone might be at the core of their identity or contribution in the world. And if we understand this, we understand what might send them into a downward spiral if that were lost.
Dr. Fogarty works with 15-year-old Tina. Watch how she partners with her to identify 2 foreseeable changes.
So my question for you is, what are the top 2 things that you could think of over the next week or so that would make you feel much worse, make you feel, oh, I want to kill myself?
Well, there's really only one thing that could make it worse. If JJ starts showing the pictures that we took when we were alone in his house.
The pictures. Yeah.
He said he deleted them, but I doubt it. What if he starts showing it around? My friends, my teachers. I don't want to be known like that.
Why don't we put pictures on here, and we'll need to make a plan for how to help you build up your defenses and feel stronger if that were to come up.
Of course, the way you ask about foreseeable changes will vary depending on your role, setting, and cultural factors. Now that you've seen an example of how to identify foreseeable changes, role play with a partner how you'd help Tina, or another person you've worked with, identify foreseeable changes and available resources. Focus on how you'd have this conversation based on your role, cultural factors, and your relationship with the person. Be sure you switch roles at the cue so you both get a chance to practice. You've formed a strong connection, done your best to assess and understand, and now you want to respond. And that's what this section is about. Getting a good map in our minds about what makes up a solid response to identify suicide risk.
For me, having a clear sense of what I need to do is an important part of what I offer youth, adults, and families I work with, and an important part of how I take care of myself. I love my job, and it's incredibly rewarding, and it's stressful at times. I worry. Primarily, I worry that a precious human being could lose their lives in future. But I also worry about me. Have I done enough? Can I go home and stop thinking about this? And there's always part of me wondering, what is somebody else going to think if something bad happens and my work and documentation is reviewed?
As a patient, I'm aware that suicidal thinking can make the professionals I work with nervous. They don't want anything to happen to me, and they're worried about themselves. I can't blame them, but I can feel when that worry's in the driver's seat.
In my experience, although worries about loss of life and my liability never go away completely, I'm more confident and less defensive having a framework that tells me, okay, Tony, here's your job. You've connected, you've made a reasonable assessment. Now here's what you need to do to respond. Do these things. Write them down. You're giving your best.
Extending includes monitoring and transitioning, but it's more than that. As a patient, I don't want you to think of your job as monitoring me. It feels more respectful to communicate that you and your organization understand that my life extends beyond when I'm with you, and you're interested in how your assessments and responses fit and extend into my life.
Extend is both a mindset and a set of practices that embody that mindset. The practices we'll cover here are non-demand caring contacts to extend impact and interventions, input and shared plans, clear roles for supports and providers, structured follow-up assessments and support, along with crisis services to support them, warm handoffs, and having a consistent approach across systems and communities of care.
Dr. Fogarty demonstrates the art of the behavioral health referral as she introduces Janice, a behavioral health counselor who is part of the provider team, to 15-year-old Tina and her mother. Tina has recently been having thoughts of suicide.
Hi, Tina, Linda. I wanted to introduce you to Janice. Good to see you.
Tina.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Linda, nice to meet you.
Janice is one of the counselors on our team that I was telling you about. Tina's one of the teenagers I've been taking care of in my practice for a long time. She's strong and bright, and she's a soccer star at school. She's really a terrific kid. Tina's got a few hurdles that she's been facing. Some bullying at school, an ex-boyfriend, and some fatigue that we're getting some blood work for. We have a contingency plan, and I was hoping that you would be able to do some work with her to get her on the path to feeling better.
What's your time like today? Do you have some more time to get started and discuss the plans you made with Dr. Fogarty?
Well,
Yeah, we can do that.
How long is it going to take? I told my friend she needed a book by 5 and I'd bring it to her. I guess I can stay a little bit longer if you want. I'm just really talked out right now.
Oh, I understand. We can keep it brief.
Training is delivered through our in-place learning model. In-place learning is online learning done as a group, accompanied by updates and refreshers and office hours. The updates and refreshers help keep learning fresh and relevant, and office hours provide direct contact with experts to help apply the learning. This blended learning approach combines the best aspects of current training models in a way that's sustainable, scalable, ongoing, and affordable. If you'd like more information about in-place learning and the science behind it, check out our website. Your chapter has an opportunity to connect and sponsor a practice in your area and help them obtain the suicide prevention training. Here are the steps to follow. Identify and talk with a practice in your area using the video and literature that will be provided. Get them interested and then refer them to us. We'll help the practice evaluate the fit and get the right people involved in the process. It may take a little time, but we will lend our experience to help with that process. We'll keep your chapter updated with the information along the way. If the fit is right, your chapter will contribute $2,000 that'll get the practice set up, and then the practice will chip in a small amount based on the number of people who work in that practice. Once that's done, we'll get them going with a research-informed evaluation process and subsequently launch training in their practice. That's it. 3 easy steps that'll equip providers in your area with the tools they need to better serve their patients. Thank you for all the effort and passion you put into your work to help prevent suicide.